up to code. The electrical needs to be brought up to code.
What was wrong with that box?
The breaker was broken.
Oh, breaker, okay. I was about to say, the box was broken.
Yeah, breaker was broken. We cited inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, decay, damage, and faulty construction. And as I said earlier, to repair holes in the walls. On the inside, house insulation wasn't in accordance to the design code. Those have a sagging and damaged roof rafters. Needs to be brought up to code also. The doors don't have the required locks on them, and it needs to provide a safe and adequate means of exit in case of a fire. It needs working smoke detectors. There wasn't any, and of course, when a property is substandard like this, it is required to have a solid concrete driveway and approach. That has to be done before it can be occupied. Did have an improper dryer vent. I don't think that picture's come up yet. It was just a hole in the side of the wall.
Yeah,
It was up there.
Okay. They have lack of adequate heating facilities. And on their electrical side, it did appear to me to be a 100-amp main in there, but Steve did check that as needing a minimum 100-amp main. All I've seen was that it was broken. It needs to be replaced.
I thought it was 200 or more.
No, it's 100. Minimum's 100. The GFI plugs, of course, there wasn't any in the kitchen or anything. There was some exposed wires that need to be eliminated, and covers on all the plugs and receptacles. And then on the plumbing, needs to be a double sewer clean out in the front, and the water line cutoff valve at the entrance of the building. And of course, you know the new law now, when it's substandard, it requires that you go back with a 1.2 gallon flush instead of the old 1.6.
The siding on the outside, was that asbestos?
Well,
Sure looked like it.
it looked like it, but I thought it was imitation, but it may be.
It might be.
But if it is, it'll have to be asbestos removal. But on a house, all you really have to do is water it down now.
Well, I mean, no, after the disposal of it.
Yeah.
It's higher.
The hot water heater, as I said earlier, it doesn't have the proper ventilation to the hot water heater, which allows gas fumes to be inside. And the TP valve needs to be replaced. That's the pressure relief valve off of the water heater. And it must be on an 18-inch stand and have a pan underneath it. I don't know if you showed the picture of the hot water heater.
Yeah, she did.
I did, let me have to find
The
it.
pan was not real good that was there. Of course, anytime it's substandard, it requires a gas pressure test, and it requires stops on all the hot and cold water fixtures. See, it's got a pan, but it's not adequate.
Nobody lives there?
Nobody's living there.
Do we know how long they've been out of there?
I want to say at least 6 months. I didn't pull the water record on it to be sure. But. And we did make contact at the very, very first with him, and he said, I know it's substandard and y'all just do what you have to do. But after that, nobody's ever heard from him. And I sent notice in the paper and I sent it to him, but like I said, his came back.
But you don't know if there's taxes owed against it yet, or liens against it?
No, I don't know any of that.
And this is not the same, there was one presented last time that the lady wanted nothing to do with it at all.
That's not the same property.
Basically, that's what's
I
happening.
mean, all of it together jeopardized the health, safety, and welfare of the general public and any occupants that would be in there, which are not any right now. But we couldn't allow them to get a certificate of occupancy to live in there in the shape that it is in. It's better than some I've seen, I would like to tell you. In times past, without a plan of action, we've never done a plan for more than 89 days that he had to bring it up to code or to demolish it.
So you think it's feasible of repair?
Oh, yes, it's feasible with it.
We need somebody to buy it.
Yeah,
This gentleman appears to have owned it since 1986,
yeah.
so he must have been,
And he's had others in town, and he's brought them up to code,
right,
so.
and he lives in a nice house in town, Fort Worth, so.
He does live here in town,
Not in our city. He lives in Fort Worth.
so he's local then.
Yeah, because we sent it to Kansas, so, because that's what's on the record.
Pad shows him being in Fort Worth.
All in Purvis, Jr.?
Yep. 916 Larkspur, that's what,
Yeah, that's what's on the
that's
label.
what was on
Yeah.
your thing too, Marvin.
Do you have anyone else who wishes to speak during the public hearing on this? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing at 6:56, and we will move to action from public hearing to consider council orders on the property at 4844 Hartford that may include securing, vacating of occupants, removal, repairing, or demolition of structures, or adoption of resolution imploring a federal agency to abate all substandard violations in order to be brought into compliance with section 3.07.004 of the River Oaks Code of Ordinances 2006 as amended. So what is staff's recommendation on that now?
It'll be a lot of time to bring it up to code.
In the 89 days? Okay.
So,
What about getting in touch with Steve said?
With who?
With who Steve found on it? Well, it is that guy, yeah.
Well, there's that guy, he's got
Down in
it
Kansas.
916 Larkspur in Fort Worth, so we'll attempt notification, we'll have to with the order, we'll attempt notification, give me that order.
yeah, with
Well-
everything else we sent up to Kansas instead of this Larkspur in Fort Worth, does that make a difference in how we proceed?
I would think it would,
I do.
since it returned.
So stuff was being sent to Kansas?
Yeah, so we can either go back and table it,
Do we know why it was going to Kansas?
that's what we had on the paperwork.
But is that through, some sort of legal thing, or is it?
I don't know.
But if, and I know this was, but if everything that we've got says this Larkspur address, so you're sure stuff was going to Kansas?
Well, in this document, it has the Kansas,
Okay.
Yes, this document went to Kansas, so.
he may not know. But,
When was the tape?
maybe one of them, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're tabling till we get contact here. Right, so I think we ought to fix that, but if it's still, if someone is non-responsive at all, then to me it doesn't make sense to give them the maximum amount of time.
I agree.
You know, because they just may not respond longer.
I think we need to do we need to fix it.
But we gotta get the notice figured out though before we do anything, I would
Then you
think.
give them the
That's right. So,
89
actually,
days, and you send it to both addresses, for whatever reason.
so the first
It went to
thing
one of
is
them.
to both addresses.
It's already been.
Well, we have to verify that what we sent so far was sent to the right people, otherwise if we do something tonight, they can, so,
In addition, your ordinance, just like state law, requires that there's like 6 locations of records to be searched, including, I think, the utility bills list, and then there's a title search is a good idea to see if there's any lien holders, but it sounded like Marvin was pretty confident it was just 10. But, yeah, you want to make sure that all the places in the ordinance have been searched.
so do we need to reopen the public hearing and continue it to the date of the next meeting?
I think in this case, you're going to have to renotice it anyway.
Okay, then we'll just take no action on that.
Well, the renoticing it will only be for the public hearing.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean,
Something you sent, something.
there's
you
still
sent
more
to
than 10
the
days
Larkspur.
left before that, for 13.
I'm sorry, will you say that again?
There's more than 10 days left before the 13th, so we could go on and rescind it and schedule it for the 13th.
I think that if we,